I want you to picture a scenario. It's, say, Tuesday evening. You've just stopped by a convenience store, you bought a Viet Lot ticket, and you're looking at those numbers. And, intellectually, you know the math. You have a better chance of being struck by lightning than winning. But for the next few hours, something just happens.
You start spending the money.
You absolutely start spending the money. You feel this flutter. You're mentally renovating your parents' house. You're quitting that job you hate. You're buying a villa in Dalat.
Of course.
Or, okay, a different one. You send that risky text to someone you have a crush on. And then you see them, those 3 little blinking dots appear.
Oh, the suspense is just terrible.
But it's electric, isn't it? That feeling. My question is this. Is that feeling just our brains playing tricks on us? Is it a delusion? Or is it actually a sophisticated biological survival tool that kept our ancestors alive?
It's a great question. Because what you're describing, that anticipation, that refusal to accept that this is the final reality, that might be the single most important evolutionary trait we have.
Welcome to the Deep Dive Lab. Today, we aren't just talking about feelings. We are on a mission to decode the hard science of hope.
And we're going to look at this from, well, every angle. We have a huge stack of research, an exhaustive literature survey on the psychology of hope, papers on evolutionary biology, and some absolutely wild studies involving premeditated attacks by chimpanzees and rats that giggle.
I'm still not sold on the giggling rats, I have to say, but we'll get there. Before we get to the rodents, let's set the stage. Because I think, especially here in Vietnam, we use the word hope all the time.
Constantly.
We hope for a promotion, we hope the traffic isn't a nightmare, we hope our kids get into university. But scientifically, are we using that word correctly?
Probably not. And that's really the first big hurdle we have to clear. In the scientific literature, there's a very, very sharp distinction between hope and optimism.
Wait, hold on. I definitely use those interchangeably. You're saying they aren't synonyms?
Not at all. Think of it like this. Optimism is a mood. It's a general belief that, things will work out. It's like looking at the gray sky in Hanoi and thinking, the sun will probably come out later. It's passive.
So optimism is just expecting a good result without really doing anything.
Exactly. Hope is different. Hope is active. It happens specifically when things are uncertain or even when they're actively going wrong. It's not thinking the weather will be nice. It's grabbing an umbrella and a map because you are determined to get to your destination, even if it's pouring rain.
I like that. So optimism is a belief, but hope is a strategy.
Precisely. And this brings us to the grandfather of hope research, a psychologist named Charles Snyder. He developed hope theory. And he argued that hope isn't an emotion at all. It's a cognitive skill.
A skill, like software your brain runs.
Almost exactly like software.
Yeah.
And he broke it down into 3 components. The best way to think of it is like the GPS on your phone.
Okay.
First, you need goals. You need a destination, a pin on the map.
Check. I want to become a billionaire. That's a goal.
Right. But a goal isn't enough. That's just a wish. The second component is pathways. You need to be able to map out a route to get there.
And crucially, I'm guessing, more than one route.
That's where high hope people differ from low hope people.
Yeah.
You need to be able to map detours because the first route almost always gets blocked, right?
Always.
A hopeful person doesn't just sit in the traffic jam. They mentally map a detour. They think, okay, plan A failed. What's plan B?
So if I have the goal billionaire and the pathway, invent a new app, am I hopeful yet?
Almost. You're missing the third and maybe most important component, agency.
Agency.
This is the fuel in the car. It's the willpower, the motivation, the I can do this feeling that gets you to actually start driving.
Goals, pathways, agency. It sounds so simple, but I'm thinking of times when I've definitely not had all 3. Like, what if you have the agency? You're super motivated and the goal, but no pathway.
That's usually frustration or blind faith. You're just spinning your wheels, pressing the gas, but the car's in neutral.
And what about the other way? You have the goal and the pathway, but 0 agency.
That's me on a Sunday morning.
Yes. I know I should go to the gym. That's the goal. I know how to get there. That's the pathway. But I just don't.
That's daydreaming. True hope needs all 3 firing at once. And here's where it gets really cool biologically. Neuroimaging studies can actually see this happening in the brain.
Where?
It points to a spot called the medial orbitofrontal cortex, the MOFC.
The MOFC sounds very official.
It kind of is. It sits right above your eyes, and it's like the CEO of reward processing. But here's the cool part. It's constantly in a tug of war with your amygdala.
And the amygdala is the fear center, the panic button.
The panic button, exactly. When you face a setback, you fail a test, the amygdala screams, danger, give up. Hide. But in people with high hope that MOFC is more active, it basically tells the amygdala, hey, quiet down, I've got a plan. It inhibits the fear so you can access those pathways.
So hope is literally your forehead telling your lizard brain to chill out because we have a map.
That is a very unscientific way to put it,
Yeah.
but yes, that's pretty much it.
Now, something in the notes stood out to me. We're talking about Snyder's theory, which sounds very, I don't know, very Western, very American. I set a goal, I conquer it.
You've picked up on a really crucial nuance. The literature survey highlights a significant cultural split. That Western view is very doing-oriented. It's about individual control.
Which is great until you hit a problem you can't control.
Exactly. The Eastern view, which you see more in Vietnamese culture and other Asian philosophies, is more like participatory hope. It's less about bending the universe to your will.
And more about aligning with the flow of things. Harmony.
Yes, and interconnectedness. It really resonates here, doesn't it? Hope in Vietnam is often a collective thing. We hope for our family. My hard work isn't just for me, it's to support my parents, to give my children a better start.
Which I imagine makes the hope more resilient.
It does. Research suggests that. Because if your individual pathway is blocked, you still have that social support, that bigger sense of meaning to fall back on. It keeps the agency tank full.
Okay, so humans have this complex GPS-like hope software. But are we the only ones? Because I look at my dog when I'm holding a piece of meat, and that looks a lot like hope to me.
This is a huge debate. For a long time, we thought humans were the only species that could mentally time travel. Imagine a future that hasn't happened yet.
But the research is pointing elsewhere.
It really is. And there is no better example than the story of a chimpanzee named Santino.
Santino! I love this story, but it's also kind of terrifying.
It is straight out of a thriller. So Santino lived at a zoo in Sweden. And the zookeepers noticed something odd. Every morning, before the zoo opened, when everything was quiet, Santino would calmly walk around his enclosure.
Okay.
He'd drag large stones out of the moat. He'd find concrete discs that had flaked off the fake rocks, and if they weren't sharp enough, he would gently tap them to sharpen the edges.
He was manufacturing weapons.
He was. And here's the kicker. He would take these little piles of ammunition and stash them right in the areas where the visitors usually stood.
Oh, no.
He did this completely calmly. No aggression, just preparation. Then he would wait. Hours would pass. And as soon as the noon crowds arrived, he would launch this barrage of missiles at them.
I can't even imagine. But scientifically, why is this so important?
Because of his mood. He wasn't throwing the stones because he was angry in that moment. When he collected them, he was calm. He was anticipating a future event, the arrival of the tourists, and creating a pathway to achieve his goal.
He was planning. He had the GPS.
Exactly. That requires visualizing a future that doesn't exist yet, and that is the architecture of hope.
So Santino proves animals can plan. What about delayed gratification? I mean, hope is basically waiting for a reward, right?
For that, we turn to birds, specifically ravens. There was a study by Matthias Osvath, the same guy who studied Santino, actually. He set up an experiment where ravens could get a small snack immediately, or they could choose a tool. The tool was useless at first, but if they held onto it for 15 minutes, they could use it to open a box with a huge reward.
That's tough. I know human toddlers who would just eat the snack.
Honestly, I know adults who would just eat the snack.
Yeah.
But the ravens figured it out. They passed up the immediate treat because they had a hope for the better future reward. Osvath called it the clearest evidence for future planning in a non-human animal.
Incredible. But I have to call you out on something. You made a big deal earlier about how hope is not optimism. But I see these notes about laughing rats proving hope. Isn't laughter just a mood? Isn't that optimism?
You caught me, and it's a crucial distinction, so let's clarify. Santino and the ravens prove the cognitive side of hope, the planning, the pathways. The rat studies shed light on the emotional engine.
The agency.
The agency. The optimism that fuels it.
Okay, lay it on me. The laughing rats.
So a neuroscientist named Jack Panksepp found that if you tickle rats, specifically on their bellies, they emit these ultrasonic chirps. We can't hear them, but they sound like laughter.
I just have this image of a scientist in a lab coat who's a good boy to a rat.
It's serious science. They took these happy, tickled rats and put them in a judgment bias test. They taught them that one sound meant a treat and another sound meant nothing. Then they played an ambiguous mystery sound.
And the happy rats?
The rats that had been tickled, the ones in a good mood, they assumed the mystery noise meant a treat. They ran over expecting something good. The stressed rats just stayed put.
So the happy rats were optimists.
They displayed optimistic expectation. And while that isn't the full GPS system of hope, it is that agency component. You need that optimistic bias to believe the mystery is worth investigating. Otherwise, you never even start the car.
That connects so perfectly to the idea of the unknown, because hope only exists in the unknown, right?
Yeah.
If you know for a fact you're going to win, you don't hope for it, you just wait.
Exactly. Hope requires uncertainty.
Yeah.
But this brings us to the biggest paradox of all. Biologically, hope seems, well, risky.
Right. From an evolutionary perspective, if I'm a prehistoric hunter and I haven't seen an animal in 3 days, hope tells me keep going. But if I'm wrong, I burn precious calories. I might die. Wouldn't it be safer to just give up and conserve energy?
You'd think so. But evolutionary biologists propose something called the smoke detector principle.
Like the alarm in my kitchen that goes off every single time I cook.
Exactly like that. It's incredibly annoying when it's a false alarm, right?
The worst.
But why is it designed to be so sensitive?
Because if it doesn't go off when there's a real fire, I'm done for.
Right. The cost of a false alarm is low a little annoyance or some wasted calories. The cost of a miss, not detecting a real fire, or giving up on the hunt when food was just over the next hill, is catastrophic.
So nature wired us to have false hope.
Precisely. Evolution did the math. It's better to hope and fail than to not hope and definitely starve. It tips the scales, so we try just a little bit harder than logic says we should.
That makes perfect sense. But then, why do we feel despair? If hope is so great for survival, why do we get depressed? Is that a malfunction?
That's a profound question. And the answer might surprise you. Despair isn't the villain. Despair is hope's partner.
That sounds poetic. But despair feels terrible. How is it useful?
Imagine you're trying to climb a cliff face made of sheer glass. It's impossible. If you have infinite, unchecked hope, you will just keep trying until you exhaust yourself and fall.
Okay.
Despair is the biological signal that says, stop, this pathway is impossible. Cut your losses. Save your energy.
Oh, so it's a circuit breaker.
A vital one. A healthy mind isn't just hopeful all the time. That's delusion. A healthy mind has to balance hope, which is persistence, with despair, which is knowing when to quit and pivot. You need despair to tell you when to find a new pathway.
That actually makes me feel so much better about the times I felt like giving up. It wasn't weakness, it was my biology trying to save me.
Exactly. And this is all driven by dopamine. And we have to clarify something about dopamine because people call it the pleasure chemical.
The reward chemical.
Yes, but it's more about reward prediction error. Your brain doesn't release dopamine when you get the reward. It releases it when you anticipate it.
The anticipation. The blinking dots on the text message.
That's the kick. That dopamine hit kept our ancestors tracking an animal long before they actually succeeded. It's the motivation to start the journey.
It's the engine. Okay, so bringing this all back to our lives, we talked about how Western hope is about doing, but what happens when you can't do anything about a problem?
This is where the research gets incredibly relevant, especially as our population ages. What if the problem is a terminal illness or just aging? You can't goal set your way out of mortality.
Right. No amount of pathways will reverse time. If your only version of hope is fixing things, you're in for a rough time.
Exactly. And this is where researchers are talking about a concept called weight power.
Weight power. I love that term. Is it just patience?
It's more than that. Patience is passive. Weight power is a dignified, resilient form of hope. It's the capacity to find meaning even when you can't control the outcome.
That sounds very much like that Eastern participatory hope we mentioned.
It is. It's shifting from doing hope to being hope. It's saying, I cannot fix this illness, but I can hope for a moment of connection today. I can hope to maintain my dignity.
That is so powerful. It's an active choice to find light in a room you can't leave.
Precisely. And in a medical context, this is huge. Hope is being looked at as a transdiagnostic mechanism. It helps people manage chronic pain, recover from trauma, because it changes the definition of winning.
So let's wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground. What's the big picture for someone stuck in traffic right now?
I think it's this. Hope is a skill, not a mood. It's a three-part system: goals, pathways, and agency. It has deep biological roots we share with chimps and ravens, and it evolved to keep us moving when the outcome is uncertain.
It's the sweet spot, right between knowing the future, which is boring, and giving up, which is helplessness. Hope lives in the maybe.
It thrives in the maybe. And remember, despair isn't the enemy. It's just the signal to find a new path.
I love that. So here's our challenge to you, the listener. We want you to exercise your hope muscle. Think of one goal you have that feels impossible.
Don't just wish for it. Apply the science. Ask yourself, what's the goal? What's one tiny pathway, one small step you can take? And do you have the agency to start?
And think about Santino. You don't have to throw stones at tourists. Please do not do that. But what's the first stone you need to pile up today to prepare for tomorrow?
Just collect the stone. That's the first act of hope.
Just collect the stone. Thank you for diving deep with us today.
It's been a pleasure.
If you enjoyed this journey into the science of hope, make sure to subscribe to the Deep Dive Lab. We have plenty more curiosity-driven science coming your way. Until next time, keep hoping.